I showed up to the reunion I paid for and walked into a ghost town. The parking lot was empty. Not just early empty. I mean horror movie empty. No cars, no music, no smoke clouds where my cousins usually hide behind the dumpster, pretending they're not chain-smoking Marlboros. Just stillness, concrete and echoes. That was the first red flag. The second was the text from my mom, 2 weeks ago. Can't wait to see everyone. Friday, 6:30 p.m. at Carter's Grill. Clear as day. Sent by her, confirmed by me. I even replied, got it. Booked the private room like we talked about. Excited to see you all, but apparently I was excited alone. I triple-checked the date. It was Friday, it was 6:28. I was on time, like a dumbass. Inside, the air was warm and smelled like garlic bread. A soft jazz trio played near the bar and a few strangers chatted at booths. But the private dining room I reserved? Locked. Dark. Can I help you? The hostess asked, not looking up from her screen. Yeah, Reyes party, private room. She scanned her list, then looked up with a polite frown. Oh, they were here yesterday. I blinked. No, that's not right. It's tonight. I made the reservation, paid the deposit. It's for Friday. She tilted her head. Today is Friday. I know. They came Thursday. 16 of them, big group, had cake. Your mom brought printed menus. My heart sank. Are you sure? She gave that uncomfortable smile. People do when they know you're about to unravel. Positive. I didn't respond. I pulled out my phone and called my mom. She picked up on the second ring, too cheery. Hi, honey. Everything okay? Where's everyone? A pause. Then that airy fake laugh she does when she's guilty. Oh, we did it yesterday. Thought you weren't coming. But don't worry, I saved you a slice of cake. I hung up. I don't even remember pressing the button. Then a message buzzed in. Laura, my sister, LMAO, you missed it? Classic Eli. Don't worry, we saved you a breadstick. My hand trembled. Rage or cold, who knows? I looked at the hostess again. So they came, ate, and left. She shrugged. Seemed like they had fun. Of course they did. They always do. Especially when I'm not there. I walked out. Didn't say a word. Didn't blow up the group chat. Just sat in my car and stared at the steering wheel. The $1,900 charge from Carter's on my card felt like a branding iron. And the kicker? I'd sent 3 reminder messages earlier that week. Confirmed the reservation. Confirmed the time. They saw it. They knew. They chose to leave me out. That was the worst part, not the lie, but the choice. Let me rewind for context. This wasn't the first time my family decided I didn't matter. It was just the first time they didn't bother hiding it. Growing up, Laura was the sensitive one, which was code for she could fail upward and still get praise. I was the independent one, which meant I could bleed out in silence and still be accused of being too dramatic. I got my first real job out of college at 23. Called mom to tell her the good news. Her response? Perfect. Now you can finally help Laura with her car payments. No congrats, no I'm proud of you. That set the tone. 1 month of car payments turned into a year of insurance, then groceries, then tuition for a program she never finished. Every time I brought it up, I got the same line. Stop keeping score. You're doing better than her. Be grateful you can help. Grateful for being used. I once covered a $700 vet bill for her cat, then saw her post a story the same night with brand new lashes, cocktails, and a guy's hand on her thigh. When I showed mom, she laughed. You boys always get so petty about money. I wasn't petty, I was tired. Then there was the night I heard what they really thought. 6 months ago, I stayed over at mom's for a weekend. I had just bailed Laura out of another overdraft $1,300 Steve's time. Around midnight, I went down for water. I stopped when I heard voices from the living room. Laura, he acts like he's some savior just because he helps out. It's pathetic. Mom, I know. But let him feel useful. What else does he have going on? Dad, laughing better, he pays your bills than a therapist's. Laura, if he vanished tomorrow, I wouldn't even notice. I didn't walk in. I just stood there, frozen. Then I turned around and went back upstairs. Lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, while the cat I paid to save purred by the door. I should have walked away right then, but I didn't. 2 days later, Laura texted, "Sorry if you're mad. Can you spot me rent? Promise I'll pay you back." I sent the money. But the dinner? The one I paid for and wasn't invited to? That was different. That was the line. You'd think the exclusion would be the worst part. It wasn't. The worst part was how casual it was. How they didn't even try to lie. Just, oh, it was yesterday. We'll bring you leftovers. Leftovers. Like I'm the dog. Like I should be thankful for crumbs. I didn't sleep that night, not because I was hurt. Because I was calculating. That $1,900 included appetizers. A vegan main course for Laura. A gluten-free cake for Mom. A bottle of French wine for Dad because he hates California blends. I paid for all of it. And they ate without me. They laughed without me. They toasted without me. So I made a plan. The next morning, I dropped a message in the family group chat. Eli, dinner at my place tonight. 7:00 sharp. I've got something for everyone. Not a single person asked what it was. Because of course they didn't. Curiosity only goes one way in this family. At 6:58 p.m., my doorbell rang. And I was ready. When they showed up, I wasn't nervous. I was ready. Laura was first through the door, all smug with her sunglasses still on indoors. She looked around like she expected a party set up balloons. Maybe a catered spread. Instead, just me. One long dining table, and 16 printed envelopes laid out in perfect rows. She blinked. What's this? I smiled, but not in a friendly way. Take a seat. I made dinner. The kind that lasts. Mom and Dad came in next, chatting like it was a Sunday barbecue. Dad had that, I'm doing you a favor expression. Mom gave me a hug that didn't land all the way. Thanks for inviting us, she said. It's good you're letting this go. Letting it go? That's when I knew they thought I'd folded again. That I was just having a meltdown, then moving on like always. Like I'd reset by default. They didn't realize this time was different. Everyone found their seats. Some looked confused, others just bored. Laura had already started scrolling on her phone. I stood at the head of the table. Before anything else, I said, "Open your envelopes." The sound of tearing paper echoed through the room. Confusion turned to irritation. Laura laughed out loud. Are you serious? This is a bill. Yes, I said simply. A breakdown of your portion of the Carter's dinner I paid for. Which, as you know, I was never invited to. Mom's face tightened. Eli, come on. No, let's not do that. I raised my voice a little. Let's not pretend it was a mix-up, or that I misunderstood the invite, or that everyone just accidentally showed up a day early and forgot to tell me. Silence. Then Dad leaned forward. This is petty. I looked him straight in the eyes. So was holding a reunion without your son. That I bankrolled. Laura scoffed. Nobody made you pay, Eli. You just love playing the martyr. That word again. Martyr, God, I was tired of it. I took a deep breath, pulled a folder from my bag, and placed it on the table. Inside are receipts, bank transfers, Venmo logs, groceries I covered, tuition deposits I made, vet bills, rent gaps, birthday trips, dental emergencies. I looked at each of them as I spoke. And you're right, Lara. Nobody made me do it. I did it because I thought that's what family was. Turns out I was wrong. Dad's tone changed stern now. This isn't how we handle things in this family. What family? I asked. The one that lies? Takes? Leaves people out? That family? Mom started to cry. Always the tears. Always the guilt card. I just wanted to keep things simple, she whispered. It wasn't meant to hurt you. But it did, I said. And you all knew it would. You just didn't care enough to stop. Laura slammed her envelope down. So what's this then? You want money now? A refund for being a bitter little man? I could have yelled. I didn't. I pulled out one last envelope and slid it across the table to her. What's this? More receipts? No. That's a notice. I filed a fraud report with my bank. A credit card was opened under my name 6 months ago. Used to buy a new iPhone, spa package, and get this matching luggage. All shipped to Mom's house. And posted by you. Laura's face went white. Dad spoke first. You're accusing your sister of identity theft? I'm not accusing, I said calmly. I submitted documentation. The bank has it. The police have it. They're calling it identity fraud. Laura stuttered. It wasn't fraud. It was just, I thought you wouldn't mind, I snapped. You thought I wouldn't notice. That's what you mean. The room went dead still. Then Mom whispered, Eli, we can fix this. Just don't take it further. Please, you had the chance to fix things, I said. Years of chances. I'm not the one who broke this. I'm just finally drawing a line. I stood. I gave you a bill because I'm done being your free ride. Every favor from now on comes with a price tag. Dad's jaw clenched. You've changed. Yeah, I said. And it's about damn time. I turned to leave. That's when someone unexpected spoke. It was Mikey, my cousin. Quiet guy, usually just there for the free food. He raised a hand like a kid in class. I'll pay mine, he said. Everyone turned to him. He shrugged. I knew about the dinner. I should have said something. I didn't. That's on me. I nodded slowly. Thank you. And then I walked out. No dramatic exit. No slammed door. Just quiet, final steps. I expected silence afterward. Or maybe a string of angry texts. But what I got the next morning was a call. Block number. I picked up. This is Officer Perez from the local department. We're following up on a financial fraud report involving a credit card in your name. We have reason to believe the charges originated from a family member at your previous residence. Would you be willing to provide a formal statement? I paused, then said, Do I need to be there? No, sir. You've submitted everything. We'll take it from here. I hung up and just sat there. It was happening. Finally. Not me begging to be heard. Not me justifying why I mattered. Just actions. Real consequences. They say blood is thicker than water, but they always leave out the full quote. The blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. I used to think loyalty was enough. That showing up, paying up, and shutting up was love. Turns out it's just fuel for people who never intend to give anything back. But here's the thing. They built their world on the idea that I'd never walk away, that I'd always cave, always send the money, always say yes. And when I didn't, it all started to fall apart. The silence didn't last long. Less than 24 hours after the officer's call, my phone lit up with a familiar number, Mom. I let it ring. Then came a barrage of texts. Mom, please call me. We need to talk. You didn't have to go this far. Laura's a wreck. I hope you're happy. And finally, this is tearing our family apart. No apology. Just guilt, dressed up like concern. I didn't respond. Instead, I went on a walk. First real one I'd taken in weeks. No headphones, no distractions. Just my shoes on pavement and the spring air pressing against my face. I needed that space, that silence, because I knew the storm was coming. And sure enough, the next morning, 7:42 a.m., they got a knock on the door. 2 detectives. Suits, badges, clipboard in hand. Professional, polite, but not here to play nice. They asked to speak to Laura. She tried to say she was running late for work. They told her to sit down. She lasted 4 minutes before crumbling. It wasn't even real fraud, she sobbed. He always pays. I didn't think he'd notice. I was going to pay him back. She never did. And now, there it was in writing, in audio, in text threads they pulled from her phone. Used Eli's card for spa day. He won't even care. LOL. Just borrow it for now. You know how he is. He'd rather die than say no. Mom tried to jump in. Tried to explain that Laura was under a lot of pressure, that it was just a misunderstanding. But misunderstanding doesn't look like digital receipts and a delivery address tied to a stolen card. It looks like a choice. And Laura made hers. Later that day, I got a call from Detective Sims. Calm, but with the weight of something that couldn't be undone. We have enough to press charges. Do you want to proceed? I didn't answer right away. I stared at the ceiling, hand on my chest like I was trying to feel my heartbeat before I spoke. Give me a day, I said. He agreed. I spent the next 12 hours doing what I always did, thinking about them more than they ever thought about me. Would Laura lose her job? Would Mom cry herself into a panic? Would Dad rant to the neighbors and spin it like I was the ungrateful one? Probably. But none of that was my fault. They had built that house of cards with their own hands. I just stopped holding it up. That night, Mom tried again. She called. I let it ring. She left a voicemail, then another, then a final one that said, if you really want to talk, come over. Let's do this face to face, as a family. Part of me wanted to delete the message and move on, but a louder part wanted to look them in the eye. So I went. and the second I stepped into the living room, I regretted it. Lara sat on the couch wrapped in a throw blanket like she was in hospice. Her hair was tied up, no makeup, red eyes. An Instagram influencer's version of suffering. Dad sat stiff in the armchair, remote clutched like a weapon. Mom was in the kitchen, wiping a clean counter like it had done something wrong. No one stood. No one smiled. "Thanks for coming," Mom said softly. I nodded but didn't sit. "We just want to fix this," she said, folding her arms like she was cold. "We all made mistakes. But this, legal stuff, it's too much." Lara looked up at me, voice hoarse. "I didn't think you'd actually press charges. I thought you'd be mad." "Yeah, but this, I said, is what happens when you treat people like wallets." "Don't be cruel," Mom snapped. And there it was, the real voice, the one behind the soft edge. I turned to her. Cruel? Cruel was leaving me out of a dinner I paid for. Cruel was making me believe I was loved only when I was useful. Dad finally spoke. "You think this makes you a hero? You're just another bitter man with a chip on his shoulder." I didn't flinch. "No. I'm someone who got tired of being used." He stood. "We raised you, fed you, clothed you. You made me feel like I owed you for it." That shut him up. Mom stepped forward. "We'll pay back the card. Every cent. Just drop the charges." I tilted my head. "Funny how you never offered that until now." "We didn't think you'd go this far," she whispered. I let that hang in the air. I went this far because I stopped going in circles. Then I left. Didn't slam the door. Just walked out into the night. I stood on the front lawn, took a breath, and knew deep in my bones I wasn't going back. The next week I got another call from Detective Sims. We received payment covering the disputed charges. Anonymous sender. But it came from a joint account under your parents' names. He paused. "Would you still like to press charges?" I thought about it. About Lara's smug texts. The Instagram lies. Mom's gaslighting. Dad's mockery. Then I said, "No, not this time." But I added, "Put it on record. If she uses my name again, I want her arrested." "Understood," he replied. And that was that. The case was closed. The door wasn't just shut, it was sealed. 2 weeks later, I packed my life into boxes and left town. New state, new place, cheap rent, quiet street. The kind of quiet that doesn't scream, doesn't simmer, just exists. I spent my first weekend building IKEA furniture and dancing alone to old music. I hadn't played since college. I made coffee exactly the way I liked it and didn't have to share. And for the first time in years, my phone didn't buzz with a single request. No rent drama, no guilt trips. No sudden emergencies with "I'll pay you back" promise attached, just peace. Then one afternoon, I got a letter. No return address, just a single folded piece of paper and a check. I don't expect forgiveness, but thank you, Mikey. The check was for half the dinner bill from Carter's. I didn't expect it. He didn't owe me anything, but he understood. And that meant more than the money ever did. 3 weeks into my new life, I realized something strange. The quiet didn't scare me anymore. At first it did. I'd wake up expecting to see missed calls, texts asking for help, guilt-laced voice notes from Mom. Nothing came. Just alarms I set myself in a weather app I actually had time to check. I started sleeping better, deeper, waking up without that buzz of dread crawling under my skin. I could breathe again without running mental checklists of who needed what from me. That's how I knew I wasn't just escaping. I was healing. I didn't tell anyone where I went. No forwarding address, no email updates, not even a goodbye. I left that town the way they left me at Carter's, without warning, without explanation. And the silence that followed? At first it stung, then it started to feel like air. A month passed, then 2. My birthday came and went, without a single call from home. Not from Mom, not from Lara, not even a passive-aggressive hope, "You're well" message. They weren't ignoring me. They were pretending I didn't exist. And maybe that was the point. For the first time, they couldn't control the version of me they presented to others. I wasn't around to play the reliable son, the spineless provider, the background character in their little family performance. So they erased me. Easier to cut out the truth than admit it hurt. I only found out about Dad's surgery through a cousin's Facebook post, a routine bypass. Nothing life-threatening, but still you'd think someone might have called. No one did. and I didn't chase it. I didn't send flowers, didn't ask how it went, didn't pretend I was still part of the fold, because that's what it always was, pretending. Being the one who showed up, who swallowed pride, who let things slide for the sake of peace. But what they never got was that peace wasn't peace when you had to kill parts of yourself to keep it. Funny thing is, when people say family is everything, they never say whose family, or what kind, or what the cost is for staying loyal to people who treat your love like a vending machine, press a button, get what you want, walk away. I stopped being that machine. I stopped answering just because they rang, and I didn't turn bitter. I turned honest with myself, with my boundaries, with what I deserved. One Saturday, I ran into someone from back home. Hardware store, of all places. I was loading a cart with soil and planters. Figured I'd try growing herbs on the little porch out back. She did a double take when she saw me. Eli? Eli Reyes? I blinked, trying to place her. Sarah, from high school, she said. We had AP English together. Then she tilted her head. Wait, weren't you Laura's brother? I didn't even think. Just smiled and said, not anymore. She laughed, unsure if I was joking. I wasn't. But I didn't owe her the full story. I'd already told it once, to the right people. And it changed everything. That moment stuck with me, though, because I realized how easy it was to release the old roles we're forced into. You can spend decades wearing a label, the good son, the quiet one, the giver, and not realize you can just take it off. You're allowed to start over, not from scratch, but from experience. The longer I stayed gone, the more I heard through the grapevine. Laura didn't go to jail. She didn't even lose her job, but she lost something else, her mask. Turns out, once the truth came out about what she did, people started talking. Not just about the fraud, but everything else. The guilt trips, the lies, the way she used people, then acted like it was generosity for even speaking to them. Mikey told me in a brief message that Aunt Jo stopped letting Laura babysit. Uncle Ray cut her off financially. Even her best friend blocked her after finding out she used her name to sign up for a fake lease. And Mom? Well, she tried to spin it like a smear campaign. Said I was spreading rumors. Tried to paint herself as the matriarch caught between two feuding siblings. But the thing about truth, it has legs. It walks around even after you shut the door, and it talks louder than your excuses. I didn't gloat, didn't post cryptic quotes, didn't tell anyone I told you so. I just lived. Simple as that. I worked my job. I cooked for myself. I went to the farmer's market every Sunday and flirted awkwardly with the guy who sold honey. And little by little, I came back to myself. Not the version of me they expected. Not the role they had me stuck in. Just me. Eli, whole, quiet, free. I think that's what scared them the most. Not the report I filed. Not the receipts I printed. Not the fallout from the fraud. But the silence that followed. Because when I stopped chasing their love, they had nothing left to manipulate. When I stopped explaining myself, they had nothing left to twist. When I stopped showing up, they finally saw how much weight I had been carrying. And without me, they crumbled. Not all at once, not dramatically, but slowly, quietly. Like a house that looks fine on the outside, but you pull out one beam, and suddenly it starts leaning just enough for people to notice. I wasn't the beam, I was the foundation. And they didn't realize that until I walked away. I still haven't heard from them. No calls, no letters, no let's talk, no. We miss you. They lost access. And that's the first bill they never expected to pay. The strange thing about healing is that it doesn't make a sound. It doesn't arrive like thunder. It just slips in quietly one morning while you're brushing your teeth or folding laundry, and suddenly, the ache is gone. That's what happened to me. One day, I stood at my new kitchen window, sipping coffee, sunlight cutting across the floor, and I realized I hadn't thought about them in days. No resentment, no imaginary arguments, no tightness in my chest when I saw a family eating together in a cafe. Just space, stillness, and me. I don't mean it like some cheesy self-help quote. Healing didn't make me enlightened. It made me honest with myself, with what I needed, with what I never got. I started doing things just because I wanted to. Signed up for a ceramics class. Joined a hiking group. even though I hadn't climbed anything taller than my apartment stairs in years. Started writing again, nothing big, just bits and pieces. Memories turned into scenes. Frustration poured out as fictional characters who said what I never did. That helped more than I expected. It didn't undo the past, but it gave me a place to put it down. Once in a while, I'd still get updates from people who hadn't figured out I wanted space. A second cousin emailed a meme one day with a little hope you're doing okay. No follow-up, no questions. Just a breadcrumb. I didn't respond. Not out of anger, just clarity. When you spend most of your life begging people to see you, it feels strange to walk away and never look back. But freeing, too. Like finally breathing after years of choking in silence. A few months in, I got a message I didn't expect. Not from family. From someone I used to work with back when I was still back there, still drowning under everyone else's weight. She said, "I don't know what happened, but whatever you're doing now, you seem lighter, happier." The first reread that sentence 3 times. It landed differently than all the apologies I never got. Because it wasn't trying to fix me, it just noticed. And sometimes, that's all anyone wants, to be noticed when they're no longer bleeding. Then one day, I saw Laura again. Not in person, online. A mutual friend had tagged her in a photo at a wedding. Her smile looked the same, bright, performative, practiced. But her eyes, they were hollow. Not sad exactly, just tired. There was a time I would have paused there, wondered if she missed me, if she understood what she'd done, if she'd learned anything from what happened. But I didn't pause. I scrolled past her face like I would any stranger's, because that's what she was now. A stranger I used to love like family. A stranger who taught me the cost of unspoken expectations and love that only moves in one direction. And Mom? I heard she joined a new book club. Started walking every morning. Someone said she told neighbors I'd moved away for work and was just busy with life. She didn't mention the dinner, or the fraud, or the police. No surprise there. The truth was never something she wore out loud, just folded, hidden neatly between carefully chosen words and tight-lipped smiles. Let her keep her version, I have mine. The quiet life I built wasn't flashy. There were no grand new beginnings, no massive glow-up, no viral revenge story I posted online. Just me, in a small town with plants I didn't kill, and a closet full of clothes I actually liked. I started cooking for myself. Not for family holidays or Sunday dinners, with guilt lurking behind the mashed potatoes. Just meals I enjoyed, eaten slowly, in peace. That felt like a revolution. And the best part? I stopped checking my phone. Not because I didn't care, but because I no longer waited for them to reach out. No more wondering if they missed me. No more hoping for a half-hearted apology wrapped in backhanded compliments. No more flinching when I saw a number I recognized. I changed it anyway. Got a new number, new email, even switched banks. Some people say it's extreme. I say it's overdue. I started meeting new people. Not all became friends, but some did. And none of them knew the version of me that used to send rent money on autopilot or nod along to insults disguised as concern. They knew this me. The one who says no without explaining. The one who laughs without checking if anyone minds. The one who chooses himself first and doesn't feel guilty about it. That version? He's here to stay. Then, late one evening, I got a letter. Not handwritten this time. Typed. Clean. Precise. No signature. It read, "We never meant to hurt you. But you went too far. You embarrassed the family. What you did was cruel. No name. No return address. Just that accusation wrapped in cowardice." I laughed. A full belly laugh. Because it confirmed something I'd suspected all along. They weren't sorry I left. They were sorry they got caught. I didn't reply. Didn't feed the flame. Because they wanted a reaction. And I wasn't theirs to provoke anymore. Let them wonder. Let them tell half-truths at holiday dinners. Let them pass around old photos where my face is cropped out and my name is never mentioned. That's their story to carry. I'm not in it. And here's the thing people forget. When you stop fighting for a seat at the wrong table, you make space to build your own. It doesn't have to be big, just honest, solid, real. Mine has mismatched chairs and a chipped mug I use every morning. But the piece that lives there, it's something money couldn't buy and family never gave. It's mine. All mine. There's a silence you carry after leaving people who once called you their own. It's not the kind that screams loneliness. It's the kind that hums in your bones and reminds you this stillness is yours. It belongs to no one else, and no one else gets to take it. That's where I live now. Not in anger, not in bitterness, but in a space I built out of everything they broke and everything I refused to let die. It's been nearly a year since the night they left me out of my own dinner. A year since the folder of receipts hit the table, since the truth cracked the mask clean off their faces, since I walked out of that house and didn't look back, and they haven't looked for me since. Not for my birthday, not for Christmas, not even when a cousin passed away and the whole family gathered. I heard about it through a mutual friend who assumed I knew. I didn't, because I'm not in the loop anymore. I'm not on the list. I'm not one of them. And honestly, thank God for that. There was a time when being cut out would have gutted me. I used to think being outside meant being unloved. That distance meant failure. That silence was the worst thing a family could give you. But the truth? Sometimes silence is the only gift they have left to give. Because at least in the quiet, I get to hear myself think. And for once, my thoughts don't come with disclaimers, guilt, or price tags. A few months ago, I bumped into someone who knew Laura. Not a friend, just someone from that circle. They said, "I heard you disappeared. Everyone's talking." I smiled. "Good, let them." They said, "They still think you overreacted." I just nodded. That sounds like them. Because I don't need to defend my peace to people who never protected it. They'll never say, sorry. They'll never admit what they did. They'll call it drama, or a phase, or say I'm just sensitive. But I know the truth. And here's what I've learned. People will rewrite history just to keep from admitting they were cruel. They'll twist the facts, strip out context, cut the scenes that make them look bad. But the people who really know you, they'll hear your silence and still understand what it took to walk away. That's why I never sent a final message. No dramatic speech. No parting shot. No, you lost me monologue. Because I wasn't trying to be heard. I was trying to be free. And those two things rarely happen in the same room. I live simply now. Mornings with coffee and sunlight. Evenings with books or a quiet playlist. A job that pays the bills. A life that doesn't ask me to bleed to prove my worth. I don't check my phone obsessively. I don't flinch when I see unknown numbers. I don't rehearse explanations for things I've stopped apologizing for. And when I walk into my apartment, there's no tension hiding in the corners. Just me, present, whole, enough. Lately, I've been thinking about legacy, not in the way they used to photos on the wall, names in a will, loyalty demanded but never earned. I mean, the kind of legacy you leave and how you make people feel, how you show up, how you let go. If someone asked me what I inherited from my family, I'd say this: the strength to survive without them. And that's more than they ever gave me willingly. People always say blood is thicker than water, like it means something sacred. But that's not the real saying. The original is, the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. In plain words, chosen loyalty matters more than forced ties. And I finally believe that. I don't hate them. I don't wish them harm. I just don't wish to be near them. I wish them growth, accountability, maybe even some peace. But none of it has to come from me. I'm not their rescuer. I'm not their ATM. I'm not the emotional punching bag they dress up as the reliable one. I'm just me. And that's finally enough. I still think about that night at Carter's sometimes. Not with rage, just remembrance. I picture the empty parking lot, the cold air when I stepped inside, the way my name wasn't on the room anymore. It was the worst moment of my life and the best thing that ever happened to me. Because it forced me to see the truth I kept avoiding. I wasn't part of a family. I was part of a pattern, a system built on silence and sacrifice. And when I walked away, that system collapsed. Not because I tore it down, but because they never thought I'd stop holding it up. So now, when people ask if I miss them, I just smile. Missing someone requires memory soaked in warmth. But all I remember is exhaustion. They don't know where I live. They don't know where I work. They don't even know who I am anymore. And that's the beauty of it. Because they don't get to rewrite this chapter. They don't get to twist my absence into cruelty. They don't get to decide who I've become. That's mine. That's the first thing that's ever truly been mine. So here's the truth. Plain and simple, I didn't lose a family. They lost me. And that's a price they'll never be able to pay. Story 2. No plans for Easter this year, they said. In any case, the weather is horrible. My sister then shared a picture of a table laden with food while grinning at everyone. I went up to Dad. "You're more of a visitor than family," he remarked. While he was still speaking, I grinned, opened my app, and sold the automobile I had paid for in his name. When the tow truck came, he learnt. "Hey," my dad stated over the phone, "just so you know," flat and informal voice, "this year we will not be celebrating Easter. The weather is expected to be unfavorable. Everyone remains indoors." That was it. No. Hold on. No. Apologies. No. Perhaps next time. That's all. And a second later, the queue died. In my kitchen, I stood there looking at the screen as if the call had dropped accidentally, but it hadn't. No invitation, no family meal, no Easter. I had already been excluded by them. However, it felt colder this time, as if they had no intention of sugarcoating it. I attempted to shrug it off. I decided to get takeaway and watch a Netflix binge. That might make it less painful, but my phone buzzed once again after 5 minutes. My sister's Instagram was the source of the notification. I gave it a tap. I don't have high expectations. A picture of the Easter supper with the family was there. Fresh buns, mashed potatoes, deviled eggs, and a well-spread gammon. Our mother's well-known lemon pie. Sitting at the head of the table, my mother grinned as if nothing had ever happened. Beside her, with a glass of wine in hand, my sister was full of pride and teeth. Even Uncle Ray, who hadn't shown in 3 years, as well as my aunt and cousins. Everyone but me. It said in the caption, "Family is the most important thing. #blessings for Easter. Use the #appreciative heart." I gazed at the display. My hands became icy. They canceled everything, but I was meant to think it was the weather, that there were no gatherings. However, Easter was not canceled. I was canceled. I gave my father a call. After 2 rings, he picked up as if nothing had happened. "Hello. What is going on? Have you called off Easter?" Because of the weather, I spoke in a low voice. He answered softly. "Yeah. It's funny," I remarked, "since I just saw your Easter table on Instagram and the sun is shining. Everyone is present. All but me." "Quiet. Look," he replied at last. "Let's not make this into something." "You misled me. It wasn't a lie," he answered, then stopped as if he was considering what to say. "Lately, you've been aloof. Something felt off. It's simply easier this way, to be honest." "Who finds it easier?" He said. "I asked for everyone. Look, you are no longer considered family, but rather a guest." It was that. He probably didn't mean for the sentence to hit so hard. However, he continued to talk, to defend, to act as though this was not terrible. I pulled out my phone. I tapped into the app that was linked to his car, the one that was purchased with my money, but was registered in his name, but he didn't realize I had access to it. I'm in charge of insurance and monthly payments. I confirmed the sale by clicking 3 buttons. The tow truck showed up. When the driver knocked on the door 2 hours later, he learnt. And because it was only the beginning, I grinned when he phoned. Easter would have been the start, but it wasn't. For years, this has been developing. Poisonous droplets slowly filled a cup till it was overflowing. Allow me to return you. I have assisted my family for the past 7 years. It began with food for my parents and a little petrol money for my sister. They claimed to be short on funds when the furnace failed. Then it turned into paying the bill difference. After then, it was taken for granted each month. As they joked that I was simply an it person who never accomplished anything of himself, I diligently and silently paid them money. They never inquired about my well-being, never offered assistance, never expressed gratitude. But the guilt trip calls began pouring in if I was even a day late with my payments. "We are related. You are aware that your sister is doing her hardest. You don't have a wife or children. You can afford it. I think that's what family means. Therefore, I always overlook it." The problem is that while I was growing up, my dad wasn't always like this. He was decent yet strict. However, something changed when he lost his job during my sophomore year of college and never really recovered. It was my sister who led the way. She took on the role of family spokesperson, She chose who was included, who was duped, who was held accountable. I constantly got accused, spoiler alert. There was nothing she could do wrong. At the age of 22, the golden child married. Separated at the age of 24, remarried at age 26. To a man named Ryan, this one. He was quiet yet pleasant, too silent. I covered the cost of the new location when she requested a wedding upgrade. I volunteered when their pipes burst, when their SUV was purchased. Who has already made the down payment? Not them. The automobile then arrived. A loan destroyed Dad's credit. He never made a repayment. He claimed that in order to regain his freedom, he was unable to obtain a car. I didn't think twice. Purchased a good used Camry for him. Paid for it. Monthly insurance to everyone registered to him but in my name. He responded, "It's just paperwork." "You don't even use the vehicle?" I ought to have known. Let's fast forward to current year. I recently paid off the remaining balance on a massive credit card bill, the most of which was incurred due to an unexpected dental issue, for which my mother promised to reimburse me. Never did. In any case, I had finally caught my breath and was considering taking a rest. An actual holiday? Greece, maybe. Then Easter arrived. There was no rejoicing, they said. That was the place where everyone was staying. I really do believe them. Then I was struck by that picture. The ham, the grins. In elementary school, I produced this centerpiece, precisely at the center of the table. That would have sufficed. The twist, however, it was more than simply the picture. It was the remarks that were hidden under the hashtag. Caption, grateful heart. I saw something my aunt had said. I'm glad everyone made it. Ryan's parents even took a plane. Jake's absence was regrettable. My sister responded, I have better things to do, he remarked. You can't make someone care about their family. I almost dropped my phone. She lied, I said. Thus, I was portrayed by everyone as the self-centered one. Everyone believed her, including the flake and the unappreciative son who couldn't be bothered. Then the last straw appeared. The following morning, when I checked my banking app, I saw a payment to a wedding planning firm that I didn't recognize. My heart fell. An outdated card was attached to it. I never used it, nor did I grant access to it when my sister requested assistance 2 years prior in organizing a surprise for Ryan's birthday. I looked at all of the charges over the previous 2 weeks. Thousands of money. Playing stupid, I contacted the firm, inquired about the event. A happy-sounding woman added, Oh, the vow renewal ceremony. What a lovely concept. Is everything scheduled for Saturday of next week? It appears that the deposits were already covered by your cards. Renew your vows. I could feel my heartbeat in my neck. I hadn't received another invitation. Once more, they took advantage of my money. They hadn't even made an effort to conceal it this time. I didn't shout, but I felt angry. Did not send an SMS. Didn't break into the residence. I accomplished something far, far better. I launched the app connected to my father's vehicle. I put it up for sale. I also made some additional adjustments while I awaited the towing service's call. Canceled their utility bill's automatic payment. Revoked the Venmo permission associated with their groceries. My name was taken off the streaming family plan. Petty? Perhaps. However, that was just the start, because I got a group text from my sister Celia 2 hours after the tow truck driver rang my dad's doorbell. What did you do? For what reason is Dad's car being seized? Did you sell the car, Dad? Our vehicle is that one. Me? No, my car had it, registered to you due to your low credit score. I just finished being generous. Think of yourself as eliminated. Celia, happy Easter. You've gone insane. Your actions are ruining this family. Me? You did it already. I'm merely tidying up the mess. After that, she called me 6 times. I didn't respond, but her husband Ryan did something I didn't anticipate the next morning. He sent me a direct message. Can we talk, Ryan? None of it was known to me. I believe I must leave. For the first time in years, someone else actually recognized her for who she truly was, and I found myself staring at that message for a while. On Saturday, the vow renewal was scheduled. Venue in a private garden, handwritten vows, fairy lights hanging from a white canopy. I paid for everything, therefore I was aware of every aspect. To correct it, by Thursday I had made the payment. The planning firm was notified of the cancellation, Charges were all overturned. I challenged every dime fraudulent usage. Stolen card attachments provided. The case is open. Let's hear Celia's explanation. I wasn't finished yet, though. The night before the event, Ryan and I had decided to meet at a peaceful cafe far from the family circus. He seemed worse than I had recalled. His eyes were sunken and pale, as if he hadn't slept for weeks. Before he even sat down, he apologized. I gave a shrug. I wasn't stolen from by you. He acknowledged that she had once used your card for a birthday-related purpose. However, he massaged his face. This whole thing was an operation. She boasted that she had power over you, claimed you wouldn't ever interrupt her. You were too tender. I took a leisurely drink of my coffee. She was mistaken. Ryan leaned closer. Speak more quietly. She has been concealing her debt. 2 of my cards were maxed. Borrowed anything from her colleagues. She informed me that she needed money to pay for family expenses. I chuckled. That must be me. I'm family. An envelope was passed across the table by him. Printouts, evidence, screenshots, bank operations. I thought you would require it. I accepted it without even looking. Are you abandoning her? I'd like to, he muttered. However, I'm afraid of what she could do. I gave a nod. I could relate to that dread, but I didn't have time for it. It was Saturday. Naturally, I didn't receive an invitation, but I still went. I waited for everyone to take a seat beneath the umbrella. Champagne is being served by waiters. Centerpieces with flowers shining. In the first row is my mother. My dad was misty-eyed and fumbling with his tie. Wearing a white form-fitting gown, Celia was at the altar, smiling as if she were requesting something while clutching Ryan's hand. She has yet to see me. Holding the folder Ryan gave me, I strolled quietly down the aisle wearing trousers and a black button-down shirt. There was a gasp. My uncle muttered, "Is that him?" Celia pivoted. Her smile was gone in an instant. "Why are you here?" She moved away from Ryan and growled. 10 feet from her, I came to a stop, gazed directly into her eyes. "Oh, don't be concerned. I won't be here for long. All I wanted to do was give you a present." She folded her arms. "Whatever prank you believe you are performing." I held out one page as I opened the folder. "This is the account's bank record that is connected to my credit card. The one you paid for all of this." The crowd gasped. I presented another. "The email you provided to the planner with my billing information is seen in this screenshot." And yet another. "Ryan's bank statement shows the charges that you claimed were due to family emergencies. Warning, they weren't." Celia froze. She opened her lips but made no sound. Ryan took a hesitant step forward. I stated she lied to everyone. I was exhausted by her. "You were all duped?" I told them I wouldn't be here. I was financing your little dream in the meantime. My mom got to her feet. "All right, that's sufficient. You don't have to destroy her." "No." I turned to her and snapped. "You can't play referee right now. Even if you were unaware of the money, you were aware of her personality. You repeatedly choose her. The wallet in the corner was all that I was. This family's visitor." I faced Celia once again. "And you know what? This visitor has departed from the structure." Ryan gave her one final glance. "I'm done," he declared. "As simple as that. Look for another person to tell lies to." He took a step, just left, and I went with him. I didn't turn around, not even when my name was yelled at her. I shut off my phone and opened a bottle of wine that evening. Sat quietly, calm, quiet. My missed calls totaled 19 by Sunday morning. My mom gave me 5, my dad gave me 4, and Celia gave me 2. The remaining numbers are unknown, most likely family members who had witnessed the entire event unfold in real time. Until one message caused me to pause, I disregarded them all. Ryan had texted me about it. "I wanted to express my gratitude, not only for your actions, but also for reassuring me that I'm not insane. You don't realize how much you rescued me." I gazed at the display. The sensation. That provided closure. The actual twist, however. Celia continued, "I received an envelope from a lawyer 3 days later. I was being sued by her. Minor claims for humiliation in public and emotional harm. I almost choked on my coffee from laughing so hard. I sent my lawyer all of the emails, bank records, and screenshots. Assume that the countersuit has already begun, and that she will be compensating me this time. You would think Celia would back off after revealing years of falsehoods and blowing up her vow renewal. She didn't. I discovered a letter from her attorney on my porch 3 days after the tragedy, not authorized. Simply put, in a spectacular position, as if she believed that would make me more afraid. It was absurd. Character defamation, humiliation in public, strained connections. The best line because of your improper behavior at a private family gathering. My client lost their reputation and experienced emotional trauma. I was being sued by her, suing me for exposing the truth and making her feel ashamed. I replied to her lawyer's email with 3 words. I've attached all 27 pages of evidence and will see you there. Screenshots of her messages and the card records. Recordings of the vow renewal ceremony. Yes, I did have it filmed. You can never be sure that a narcissist won't fabricate the story later, as well as a witness statement that Ryan signed. Afterward, I submitted a countersuit, the entire amount of the unapproved charges, emotional harm, violation of the financial contract, for fun too. My bank will freeze any account she touched after I file a fraud report. By the end of the week, she attempted to rebook the event venue and her bank account was flagged. Again, it was canceled. However, this is where the actual fallout started. My mother was the first to do it. She arrived at my door without warning, holding a plastic banana bread container as if it could reverse 10 years of treachery. She stood there for 10 minutes, whispering into her phone, and I watched through the crowds without opening the door. She then knocked once more. My dear, she gave a call. All we want to do is talk. We? Naturally. A moment later, my phone buzzed. My father left me a voicemail. He spoke in a tight voice, practiced. Your point has been made. This circus needs to end now. The family is being torn apart by you. It's funny. That's what I believed they did. Then, one by one, the texts arrived. Celia, you prevail. Joyful? Everything was ruined by you. We didn't think you'd get this far, Mom. Why didn't you simply speak to us? Dad, you're acting like a stranger. Where did the suddenly raised go? And finally this one, Uncle Dave. I watched the whole thing. You did what the rest of us never had the guts to do. That one hit different. I replied to only one person. Ryan, how are you holding up? His answer came back almost instantly. Free. First time in years. Got a lawyer filing for divorce next week. Also found a new place and a therapist. Then he added Celia's whirling. She informed your parents you hacked her accounts and brainwashed me. They're gobbling it up. However, I'm finished. I'm done lying for her. I thanked him. I made it that night for the first time in months. I slept without waking up in a sweat. 2 weeks passed. Then the shockwave hit. Just not the one I expected. My cousin Becca, who'd always been Celia's little cheerleader, messaged me out of nowhere. Hey, I had no clue it was so nasty. She informed us who goes to the family since you were too wonderful for us. I apologize. Furthermore, did she actually spend the whole wedding using your card? I emailed her a screenshot, her response. Well, she said to Grandma, donate it. The true twist came at that point. Grandma gave me a call. She had remained silent the entire time. Switzerland is mute in our family drama, but this time she continued calmly. I viewed the video. Which video? The one that your cousin shot. It didn't make the family group conversation, do you think? My heart fell. That wasn't sent by me. Obviously not. However, someone did. She let out a deep breath. You were correct. I was mistaken to think she had changed. Recently, I've made some financial decisions. I want you to know that the house is yours. I went cold. Grandma, avoid arguing. This is something I ought to have done 5 years ago. For handbags, she would have pawned it. You've always been there, even if we weren't worthy of you. That was it. Verification. Actual. Firm. It's past time for validation. I ended the call. I sat quietly and let the relief to fill me. Then my phone came back to life. Celia. It was not a threat this time, nor a guilt trip, nor a shout. Only 2 words. You prevail. I gazed at the display. This was not a victory. It was time to face up, and it had only barely begun. 3 months have passed since I destroyed the delusion. Figurative, of course. The vow renewal was canceled. Ryan and Celia's divorce filed a lawsuit that was dismissed. After reviewing my evidence, the court questioned Celia's attorney. Are you serious? Although my countersuit is still ongoing, the term settlement has been mentioned several times, and I'm giving half of it to a women's shelter in her honor when it lands. Petty? No, lyrical. My folks. Since the court date, they have not spoken with me. Mom made one attempt. On Mother's Day, I included a picture of the empty dining table along with the message. I hope you're content. I didn't respond. I just grinned, ended the message, and poured a glass of wine for myself on my own balcony in my own flat. 3 states away, in a new city, they were unaware of my absence. I kept it from them. They were unknown to me. My granny had promised that house. I now own it. Last week, the documents arrived. I received a letter from her. On paper, it was a genuine one, with wobbly handwriting and 3 phrases that contained more wisdom than I had heard from my parents in a lifetime. While everyone else continued to take, you continued to give. That's over now. You own this. Because you never asked for anything, not because you paid. It wasn't because I needed the house that made me cry when I read it, because I was seen for the first time. I wonder sometimes if they miss me. My father, my mother, and even Celia did. They recognize what they done as they sat at their now smaller table. I don't think so. Reality likely seems like a betrayal since they spent so much time distorting the facts. However, my departure marked the beginning of my world, not its conclusion. I resumed my running, began to write, become true friends, people that don't call me every time and demand money. I even made travel plans. One-way ticket, Greece. Do you recall that trip I didn't take? Yes, I'll be gone next week. My sister last sent me a message 2 nights ago. You ought to have remained silent, Celia. Everyone is aware of your identity now. I gazed at it. I typed after that. They do. And I do, for the first time, blocked. Completed. Here's the deal then. The scapegoat, the emotional punching bag, or the family bank are all roles that you may still be stuck in if you're reading this. I want you to hear me out loud. Your silence is not owed to anyone. Your pocketbook is not owed to them. To keep them warm, you don't have to burn yourself alive. Sometimes the most loyal thing you can do is to walk away, devoted to oneself, because family involves being there for them when they need you, and sometimes that means leaving them after they have repeatedly demonstrated that they will never do so. And what do you know? Never have I felt so liberated. Story 3. Sell your vehicle. The loan that your brother has won't pay itself. After upping my rent by 80%, my dad stated, he gets the loan, which is funny. The bill is given to me. On his special day, I responded, I brought a present, 30 days to leave. Sell your vehicle. Without barely raising his eyes from his iPad, Dad said, it won't pay itself for Liam's debt. Halfway to the refrigerator, I froze, still holding the orange juice container. I apologize. What? He looked up as if I was being theatrical. Your brother is attempting to launch his company. Right now, he has a lot on his plate. I also don't. I came from behind the stove and snapped Mom's side. Nathan, you're in it. You earn a nice living. Liam just needs a little help. There was assistance. When they truly meant money, they invariably used that term. I leaned on the counter and closed the refrigerator. My rent has suddenly increased by 80% by you. Do you recall that? As if I were plucking at his finger, Dad waved it. Additionally, you continue to pay less than you would elsewhere. It's true, I said bluntly. Let's call it a charity drive and raise an additional 80. Mom gave a tongue click. Avoid being sarcastic. Your brother is Liam. Yes, he is, as I mentioned. In addition to being 30, he hasn't had a full-time job for 2 years and lives rent-free in the basement. Let's shake me down instead, however. Quiet, uncomfortable. So, Dad, there's a heavy quiet without a rhythm. I take it that you've always handled money well. Since I do have a job, I wanted to say that aloud, but I refrained. Since college, I had been working hard, full-time position, side gigs as a freelancer. No debt, no holidays, no frivolity. My vehicle paid off. I worked hard to obtain my funds. In order to eventually succeed, I had given up sleep, a social life, and any sense of equilibrium. Liam. He left 2 programs early. A crypto tutor conned me. He is now establishing a brand, which reportedly entails playing Xbox till 3 in the morning. and sharing motivational sayings on Twitter from time to time. I responded, "You told me I could stay here for a year. Put money aside. Go ahead." That's what I did. You're asking me to sell my car for Liam and raising the rent now. Is he your brother? Mom said it again as if it were gospel. Families support one another. After staring at them, I burst out laughing. Silently, I answered, "I'll give it some thought." Dad nodded firmly, as if it had been resolved. Excellent. I had faith that you would succeed. I didn't respond. After returning to my room and closing the door, I perched on the side of my bed and gazed at the floor. They didn't know. I had already made up my mind. I had no clue what was about to happen. Let's just say that I was planning to surprise Liam on his special day, not what they had anticipated. However, you must first comprehend how we arrived at this point, because one unpleasant breakfast discussion wasn't the point of this. This included years of unspoken demands, in which I gave and they took, until I lost any sense of what it was like to live for oneself. The last spark was Liam's big day, the fire. Long before that it began. It was just meant to be temporary when I returned home after graduation. My dad had stated it would only be a year, conserve some cash, become stable. After that, you'll be standing. 3 years have passed since then. Since then, I've assisted Mom with her unexpected credit card bills more times than I can remember, paid the rent, divided groceries, and paid for repairs when the plumbing burst. I never voiced any complaints. Perhaps this is what responsible sons do, I reasoned. The double standard, however, was what made it intolerable. Liam. For the last 6 months, my younger brother Liam has been trying to figure himself out. That mostly meant costly pastimes and unsuccessful endeavors, for which he somehow constantly need money. According to Mom, he simply needs time. "You're the older one, Nathan," said Dad. "It is expected of you to set an example." However, what was the meaning of example anymore? While Liam slept until noon and shared #grind mode selfies from the couch, I worked 60-hour weeks and it supported me. I'll give you an example. Liam's goal for 2019 was to launch a dropshipping business. I paid the 2020 Shopify fees and LLC registration. He switched to YouTube. I got him a microphone and a camera. He said, "Just until the ad money comes in, 2021 crypto face." That time, I didn't give him any money. To invest, he obtained a $15,000 personal loan. Lost everything in less than 2 months. It seems that I will now have to sell my car to pay off the loan payments that he is unable to make. What's the worst part, you ask? No, I replied, and they pretended that I was the bad guy. You're not like Liam. Mom said one night when I came home to find her and Dad sitting at the kitchen table, waiting for me like I was a teenager past curfew. "He's sensitive," she continued. "You have a job, a career. He has dreams." "Oh, I'm sorry," I said. "Is he allergic to working?" "Don't be cruel," Dad snapped. "He's trying, but the stress of the loan is making him anxious. So sell the PlayStation." The first shot back. "Maybe anxiety will go away when he starts budgeting." Dad got to his feet. "Then enough with the sarcasm and enough with the freeloading," I said. "You raised my rent by 80%, but he pays nothing." "He's family," Mom said. "So am I." No one answered. It got worse. I started noticing little things. Liam's Uber Eats orders on the family card. A package addressed to me opened and discarded on the floor. It was my new phone, meant for work. His girlfriend sleeping over 4 nights a week, eating our groceries and calling me uptight because I actually pay for my stuff. And then came the final straw. It was a Sunday. I was in my room trying to nap before another overnight shift. Liam barged in without knocking. "Hey," he said. "You said your credit's good, right?" I sat up. "Why?" He laughed like it was obvious. "I need to refinance my loan. Can I use your name? It'll help with the rate." They raised an asset, a silent ATM with boundaries they never intended to respect. That night, something shifted in me. For the first time, I didn't feel tired. I felt done. I didn't yell. I didn't threaten. I just started researching quietly, patiently. Because if there's one thing I learned in it, it's that the best way to destroy a system is from inside. And the system here was my family. My mistake was thinking I was a part of it, but I wasn't. I was the power source. and it was time to pull the plug on Liam's big day. He expected balloons instead. I had something else in mind, 30 days, one letter and no warning. But I'm getting ahead of myself. You'll see. Liam's big day was supposed to be some kind of celebration. A launch party, he called it, for his new brand. He printed t-shirts with some slogan that didn't make sense, made a media kit and Canva, and invited everyone he knew to our backyard. Like he'd just iPod on Wall Street the night before, Dad asked if I could help set up the speakers. I said, "No, you're not even gonna come?" Mom asked, standing in my doorway like I was grounded. "Is he your brother?" "He's your project," I replied. "You go clap." She didn't like that, but I didn't care anymore. They crossed every line. I was just drawing the border now. The morning of the event, I printed out the papers, sealed the envelope, double-checked everything. 30 days. That's what the law gives you on a formal eviction notice in our state. I'd done it by the book. Because if I was going to light this house on fire, I wanted the legal receipts. Liam was already out back by noon, strutting around in sunglasses and barking orders like a chaotic director. "I need music. Where's the playlist?" He yelled at no one. Dad was adjusting the grill. Mom was arranging plastic champagne glasses on a folding table like it was a royal wedding. I stood in the kitchen, watching through the window, sipping coffee from my mug that said, "Problem solver." How poetic. I waited until the guests arrived, until Liam stood in front of everyone with a mic he borrowed, talking about how grit beats privilege, and how this journey was only possible thanks to his support system. I stepped outside just as the applause started, envelope in hand. I walked right up to him and handed it over. "What's this?" he asked, smirking. "Your surprise," I said. "You've got 30 days, he laughed. 30 days to what? Dad was already walking over, brows furrowed. Mom froze, mid-toast to move out. I stated loud, clear, no tremble in my voice. The music stopped. "You're kidding," Liam remarked. Open the envelope. "No," I said. "That's an official notification. I own this property. You aren't a renter. I'm done with you because you are a liability." "What is this?" "Nathan," Dad gave a bark. "You can't just—" "Yes, I can," I interrupted. And I did. My rent was increased by 80% by you. Advised me to sell my vehicle in order to settle his debt. Called it fair. Mom clenched her teeth and replied, "This isn't the time or place." I said, "I want all of you to hear it. So now is the perfect time." I looked about at the neighbors, relatives, and crowd. Liam's buddies are freeloaders. For 3 years, when no one else did any work, I fixed the house, paid the rent, and paid the bills. Liam purchased mics, and I got food. I saw every concept he tried fail. Even so, you gave me the fallback option, the punching bag, the safety net. "Nathan, you're going overboard." "Dad, should I try again?" I looked across at Liam. "Did you ask me to co-sign a loan for a business you haven't even started last week?" Liam was flushed. "It was only a notion." I said, "Exactly. You're an idea person. Real work is what I live for. Your brother is me." To keep his face intact, he yelled, "You're meant to assist me." I replied icily, "I did. I assist you in becoming someone who has never been held responsible. However, I'm finished." Mom let out a gasp. "That's not how you should speak to him." I gave her a direct look. "Do you mean the way you speak to me? When you accuse me of being self-centered for keeping my car? Your treatment of me has been likened to a pocketbook with legs." "Dad, come on forward. This family is being embarrassed by you," I chuckled. "This family is a source of shame, and I've had enough of acting the other way." When Liam opened the letter again, his voice broke. "I can't be evicted. This isn't even your property." "Yes, I do," I said as I took out my phone and launched the app for mortgages. I bought the screen 6 months ago in my name alone, and I presented it to my father. "I've been paying for you to live here. Quiet. Dead. Lovely. Quiet." Mom muttered, "Then you didn't tell us. You didn't inquire," I said. "You simply assumed that I would carry you." I turned around and prepared to enter the home again. "By the way, glancing over my shoulder, I added, "Don't stress over rent. After that, I'm waiving it for the following 30 days. Are any of you still present? I'll let the sheriff speak for himself." I then proceeded inside. I closed the door behind me and took a deep breath. The home fell silent following the explosion in the backyard. For the remainder of the day, nobody spoke. Mom took a bottle of wine and vanished into her room. Like a battle veteran reliving tragedy, Dad remained still at the kitchen table. A picture frame tumbled off the wall as Liam slammed his door so forcefully. I turned up the music, locked my door, and slept off for the longest time as an adult. It was the first time I hadn't felt exhausted in years. I sensed danger. The quiet was short-lived. It's post-day. On the dining table, I noticed my dad going through a pile of my mail. Legal documents, mortgage documents, and bank statements. He didn't flinch at all. "We just want to know what we have," he stated. "To evict your own family should not be taken seriously." I arched an eyebrow. "My rent was increased by your family, instructed me to sell my vehicle, and demanded that I fund Liam's startup aspirations, like trainers and Silicon Valley." "That's not it," he murmured. "We always owned this house, spiritually." I laughed a little dryly. "Now you are spiritual landlords." He didn't respond. Rather, Mum showed up with a folded piece of paper. As if it were a peace offering, she laid it softly on the table. It was a list of costs, utilities, and food that I had been paying for in secret for years. "We owe you this," she said. "We want to put things right. However, you must speak with Liam." My face became stony. "Yes, I will." Not with words, though. To my astonishment, I had a knock at the door that evening. There wasn't any more family bullshit. Alyssa was the one. Zach's, Liam. She appeared more composed, as if they had just slithered out of a forest fire. I heard the events. With a file folder in her hand, she spoke. Without a word, I opened the door. She went on. "He told me you offered to co-sign his loan." "That is untrue. The first co-signer was me." However, he updated the documentation 2 months ago. I grabbed the file out of her grasp and stopped. Liam had faked my phone number, email address, and name. He took advantage of my credit without warning or asking. I clenched my jaw. Thus, he deceived both the bank and me. She gave a nod. "You must be aware of the mess he's in. He has been deceiving himself as well as everyone else." I give my lawyer a call. We looked over the papers. Every phony email trail, every signature. He informed me that you have grounds to file charges. Identity misuse and forgery. Fraud, perhaps. Depending on his use of the funds. I gazed at the display. I hadn't just been used by my brother. He posed as me. What's the worst? Nobody intervened. Not even himself, not my parents. I called a family meeting for the following day. A final dinner. They arrived grudgingly. Dad appeared tense. Mom held a piece of tissue. Liam pouted. I began to stay away from mine. The folder fell to the table. "Don't bother with the salad," I said. "Liam, you obtained your loan using my name. You made me into someone I'm not." Mom let out a gasp. "That isn't possible." "Examine the documents." I pushed them forward as I said. "Everything is there, emails, phone records, verified signatures, lawful." Liam stumbled. "It was just short-lived. I intended to inform you. You weren't." I interrupted. "You were going to play CEO in a hoodie and let me bear your burden." Dad opened his mouth to say something, but I shot him a glance. "A lawyer has already been consulted. I'll file charges if Liam doesn't leave in 10 days and that debt isn't closed by 30. Liam's expression fell. "My life would be ruined by you. Your credit has already been damaged." "I'm just protecting mine," I said. He disappeared that night. Didn't bid farewell, didn't offer an apology. Like a burglar in reverse, they left the house. Only the chaos he would cause would be taken. A few days later, Mum quietly slipped into the kitchen while I was brewing coffee. She set a tiny envelope next to my mug. A handwritten note was inside. "We had no idea how much you were carrying. We see it now, but we're not pleading for your forgiveness." I read it. I folded it. I said nothing, not yet. And just when I thought it was over, another surprise arrived, a letter. Real paper. No return address from Alyssa. "I know this is strange, but my company has an opening in Seattle. Systems analyst housing. Stipend included. I know you're probably done with cleaning up messes, but this could be your start. Your real start. If you're ready." I sat back, stared at the words. Seattle. A city where no one knew my name or how much I'd pay just to survive under the roof. I called home. I closed the envelope and smiled. They took my peace for granted. I took back everything else. Now I had a choice. And for once it was mine. Sometimes I still hear it. The sound of my dad flipping through bills, sighing dramatically. The guilt-laced silence my mom used like a weapon. Liam's voice echoing down the hall. You're meant to assist me. You're my brother. It used to haunt me now. It reminds me why I left 2 weeks after Liam disappeared. The house felt wrong. Quiet in a fake way. Like after a storm, when everything's eerily still. But you know another one's brewing? My parents tried to pretend things were getting back to normal, but nothing was normal anymore. They tiptoed around me like I was a bomb. They weren't sure had finished exploding. Every morning, I'd hear the soft sound of them whispering in the kitchen. Bills, food, repairs. Things the first used to handle without question, and for once I let them sit in it. Not because I hated them, but because they needed to feel it. The absence of me. 3 days before their move-out deadline, I came home to find Dad waiting on the porch. He wasn't yelling. Not this time. He looked small. I'm applying for rentals, he said quietly. Most of them won't pay stubs, credit checks. It's been a while. I nodded. You'll figure it out. He didn't argue, didn't guilt me, didn't mention Liam. It was the first honest conversation we'd had in years. The day they left, Mom handed me a casserole dish and a worn-out envelope. It's not much, she said, but it's something inside the envelope for $180 in cash. I didn't take it. I didn't need it. That dish sat in the fridge for 3 weeks, untouched, before I finally threw it out. But the gesture that stayed with me. Liam never reached out. No apology, no explanation. Just a post on his new Instagram page. Him in some co-working space typing nonsense. Still selling the dream. He rebranded himself as a resilience coach. Resilience. From what? Being held accountable. The post got 8 likes. I didn't even give it the knife. You'd think that'd be the end of it. But a month later, I got a message request on Facebook from Kelly, a friend of Liam's ex, Alyssa. I saw your story on Reddit, she wrote. Just wanted you to know what you did. It helped more people than you realize. A lot of us have Liams in our lives. We needed to see someone win. I read that message 3 times. Not because I didn't believe it, but because it was the first time someone saw me. Not as a villain, but as a survivor. 2 weeks later, I packed my bags, took the offer in Seattle, started over. New job, new apartment. No leeches, no random Venmo requests, no guilt-laced dinners, no fake family meetings that ended with "you should really help Liam more." And yet, sometimes I catch myself opening my old banking app out of habit, checking if someone had borrowed from me. Again, checking for the weight I used to carry, but there was nothing. Just my money, my balance, my life. And that's when it hit me. They never loved the real me. They loved the version of me that made their lives easier. The reliable one, the responsible one, the one who never said no. The human ATM, the spare parent, the financial backup plan. Once I stopped being that, they called me selfish, ungrateful, cruel. But now, sitting in a Seattle cafe with my laptop open and no texts demanding help, I finally feel what they feared most. Free. I paid off the house, sold it, invested the rest. I keep a framed copy of the eviction notice in my drawer, not out of spite, but as a reminder. A reminder that boundaries are not betrayals, that walking away doesn't make you evil, but saying no can save your life. People ask me if I miss them. The holidays, the family barbecues, the togetherness. I tell them I don't miss family. I miss the concept of family. What I had was debt wrapped in love bombs, conditional allegiance with strings attached. I don't miss it, not even a little. If you're reading this and you're their version of me, the one who pays softly, sacrifices silently, never complains. You're not insane. You're not heartless. You're not selfish. You're simply exhausted. And maybe, just maybe, it's time you gave yourself the gift you've given them for years. Freedom. Because I'll tell you what, no one ever told me. Being the villain in their narrative is worth it. If it means finally being the hero in your own.